My name's Ed Geider. I founded an organization called Bolster Men Against Violence. I came to this work because it's personal. I'm the oldest of 10 kids. My mom was abused. My dad was the abuser. They stayed together their whole lives. And each one of us still loves them both, although they're both dead now. 15 years ago, a woman I was going to marry, she was separated from her husband. He came back in the house and he killed her. So this is, a personal thing for me. But what was really interesting is I didn't really associate those things with being domestic violence. In some ways they are, but it just didn't click. A couple years ago, we had a murder-suicide in my community. I was driving home from work, and I just decided I was going to a town meeting. There was going to be a captured audience, and it was about keeping big box development out of town. And so I got up, and all these people are talking, and I've talked before, and anyways, I started speaking to the issue of domestic violence, and I told them that I spoke about the murder-suicide and that we really needed to pay attention to this in our community. So I found this organization, and it was an outreach to guys, but it's open to men and women. And what we've done is we have community forums, at the library. We bring in speakers. We always bring in an advocate, because every time we do a program, some woman comes forward, and we're not the experts, so we always have somebody there. We still speak out at town board meetings. We were just at a recent one, and we've got the town interested in developing a domestic violence policy for the town, for their employees. We got them to introduce court security, because there was no court security. So that's one of the things. I also got involved with an organization down in Schenectady, New York. It's called Elephant in the Living Room. And I did that because of a friend, and she was going through a difficult time down there in the courts. And the idea behind it was to have an open forum in the community where professionals could come and just folks, people who are going through it, people who wanted to learn more. Again, it involves like an outreach to men, because that's one of my big issues. I want to get more men to make it personal. One of the things that with that, though, is this coming week we've got somebody from the city council coming, and we're going to try to get her to become a voice for our concerns with the city council. Probably about a year ago, I was at a conference, and it was what they call a call to men. And the idea of the conference was to get more guys involved with the issue of men's violence against women. And like at conferences, your mind wanders a bit, so mine was wandering, and I started to make a list of the women in my life that had been victims of either domestic violence, sex assault, dating violence, what they call child molestation, some kind of violence. And I came up with 35. 35. And I don't think my life was all that extraordinary. So, actually, which reminds me, this is my blue stone. It's actually a piece of glass. I don't know where I got it, and it doesn't matter. It's just become one of those things that, I don't think about it all the time, but I'm not far from it, because when I take my change out at night, I see it. When I put it in the morning, I see it. And, sometimes it makes me pause, but it just keeps me connected. And I keep it in my pocket, and I kept it there to kind of remind me of my friend who died, and then my mom's situation. But after that conference, it became a touchstone to the 35 women in my life that I've known who've suffered some kind of violence. And I realized that each one of those women was like a dot that I had not connected. So I'm not surprised that a lot of people kind of don't get how significant a problem this is for our culture. And it's only when you start to connect these dots that you don't see them as individual events. Joe Smith, hurts wife, and that's all it is. What's wrong with them? That we've got something going on in our society that is supporting this climate of violence, men's violence towards women. And we've got to pay attention to that because it has such tremendous costs. One of the things that in our group in Schenectady was we found out from the police chief that 70% of their calls for service, the police calls for service, were for domestic problems. Talking to the DA, he said that he estimated that 50% of his caseload in the DA's office was domestic. And I talked to a public defender, and he said his personal caseload was like 50% battering. And we just realized that if that was a problem like graffiti, people would be up in arms. If any department is spending that much money and getting such poor results, so that's why we organized our group, Elephant in the Living Room. We're going to make change. We don't know how. We're not experts, but we're committed, and we listen. We bring people in, and then we're going to take action, and we're going to hold people accountable. So that's kind of what I do.